let's recap why many are blaming Chuck Schumer for how the Senate vote recently went down.
You've called on Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to step aside. You say he's no longer effective as a leader. Explain this for our viewers, because he did vote against this compromise that you oppose. Why are you mad at him?
Jake, you've covered politics a long time. Yes, he voted no, but 8 senators who said they consulted him daily go and vote yes. One of those people is his number 2. He's not going to do that without Senator Schumer's sign off. And then conveniently, all 8 of those senators aren't up for re-election in 2026. This is the DC way. Senator Schumer could have blocked this if he had wanted to.
The cave-in began at Thursday's Senate Democratic Caucus meeting. Chuck Schumer had been publicly insisting that any deal to continue Trump's current budget had to add continued subsidies for the ACA. But privately, Schumer was encouraging a centrist gang of 8 to keep negotiating with Republicans and settle for a lot less.
So with everything that has happened recently, Chuck Schumer is now historically unpopular. Take a look.
How are Democrats feeling overall about Schumer? We've seen a lot of comments from some House Democrats, but what about overall?
What about Democrats nationwide feeling about Chuck Schumer? I think the word of the day is terrible, 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 terrible. To quote another Charles Barkley when it comes to Chuck Schumer, look at this. Least popular Dem Senate leader ever. I looked at all of the polls going all the way back since 1985. The one who has the lowest rating among Democrats is in fact Chuck Schumer. Look at this. He's underwater with Democrats. His own party, he's underwater. He's at -4 points. That makes him the least popular guy for a Dem Senate leader going all the way back since the mid-1980s at least. How do New York State Democrats feel about Chuck Schumer? And take a look here. The net favorable among New York Democrats. Chuck Schumer is above water with the Democrats in his home state, but just by 16 points. Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez running way ahead. If she decides to challenge Chuck Schumer and come 2028, she's got a real leg up on the competition. I dare say at this point she would be the favorite to beat him.
Least popular Dem Senate leader ever. What an accomplishment that is for Chuck Schumer. And if that was any hint that the American people just don't drive with you. I was going to say something else. That should do it, right? So Chuck Schumer's, his approval rating has been in free fall since March. When we first cut a deal with the Republicans to avoid the last government shutdown, members of the Democratic Party obviously want him gone. And in addition to Ro Khanna, Rashida Tlaib has also called for Schumer's job, posting on X, Senator Schumer has failed to meet this moment and is out of touch with the American people. The Democratic Party needs leaders who fight and deliver for working people. Schumer should step down. In remarks ahead of the Senate vote on Sunday, Schumer said Democrats had been united in demanding protections for millions of Americans who rely on those subsidies, but that Republicans refused to negotiate in good faith. This healthcare crisis is so severe, so urgent, so devastating for families back home that I cannot, in good faith, support this continuing resolution that fails to address the healthcare crisis, Schumer said. Almost immediately, some progressive groups and leaders were dismissing his opposition as a performance, suggesting he might have helped organize the deal himself. If he secretly backed this surrender and voted no to save face, he's a liar. If he couldn't keep his caucus in line, he's inept, said Joseph Vergares, the executive director of Our Revolution, the political group launched by progressive Senator Bernie Sanders in 2016. Either way, he's proven incapable of leading the fight to prevent healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for millions of Americans. The country cannot afford his failed leadership any longer. And some of Schumer's Democratic allies were quick to defend him, noting that he held his caucus together for nearly 6 weeks and extracted some concessions from Republicans. Yes, and yes, House Majority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, also of New York, said Monday when asked if Schumer remained an effective leader. The overwhelming majority of Senate Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, waged a valiant fight that is debatable, I would say. Many in the party are also bracing for support for Schumer to become an issue in Senate races around the country. Whether we can weather the storm remains uncertain. He turned 75 in November and is already facing grumbling within his caucus about generational change, especially after Representative Nancy Pelosi, the former Democratic House Speaker, announced her retirement from Congress last week. In his home state of New York, where a newly energized progressive movement just swept Zohran Mamdani into the mayor's office, some activists are openly encouraging Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to challenge Schumer when his Senate seat is up in 2028. All right, there's a lot that was said there. Yeah, I think the election of Zohran Mamdani has shaken up the Democratic establishment quite a bit because they tried so hard to discredit him, to discredit his movement, to not openly endorse his campaign, to not openly support him as a candidate, despite the fact that there was evidence that the people of New York City and people across the country, Democratic voters, very much were on board with his campaign, with his platform, with all of the things that he was doing and saying. But he goes very much in opposition to what the Democratic establishment has established themselves as. Now, with Nancy Pelosi moving out, people are saying, Chuck Schumer, you also got to go. Those two were often seen hand in hand. They are much older. They have been in Congress for decades at this point, and they are very much out of step with the current value system of the American people, specifically, or even the Democratic voters. Seeing people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Zohran Mamdani, and there's so many others coming up, it is very encouraging. People want to see turnover. They want to see something that is less stale in government. And this latest failure of the Democrats to stand up to the Republicans, to the Trump administration on behalf of the American people, when they were doing it, it was so valiant. You know, they made it sound like we were doing this for the American people. And then when they caved, all they showed was that just like before, we will continue to cave to the whims of the Republican Party in exchange for like very minuscule promises. At the end of the day, things are going to be worse for the American people because the Democrats have been so incredibly weak. They have such incredibly weak leadership, and they're, all but a lame duck Congress at this point. They're wildly incompetent. And the fact that even Hakeem Jeffries is coming out saying, no, Senator Chuck Schumer, he's great still. People don't like Hakeem Jeffries either for the same reason, because I don't know what he does. Woz, do you have any idea?
Well, I think Schumer and Jeffries are two people who are out of time. They're two men that are out of time. And what I mean by that is the old way of doing things they were perfect for in terms of raising money, making the big money donors feel good, making the powerful interests, whether that be tech, whether that be Wall Street in New York City, whether that be the real estate interests who are extremely powerful, cozying up to the powerful interests, making sure the big money donors feel good. And every now and again, oh, the gays, we love you. We'll march in your parade. Oh, the blacks, we don't want to see you get lynched or anything like that. Like, we're good with the blacks. Like, we're going to wear kente cloth. We're going to wear kente cloth in the halls of Congress. And that used to be good enough. In Democratic Party leadership is spend all your time, not just in your governance, but like in your free time, making sure the donors in the big money interests and lobbying interests are taken care of. Israel's another one. And then, throwing crumbs to your constituents. And every time you're not able to do something, you be like, oh, Joe Lieberman wouldn't let us do single payer. It's sorry about that, Oh, Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, they just wouldn't let us pass a better infrastructure bill. I'm sorry, guys. Even though we get everything our owners want, we deliver for them. When it comes to you guys, the rank and file, it's always excuses, it's always platitudes. But guess what? It's over for that. Like, I'm sorry, the base is done with you. They don't want to see these niceties. They don't want to see you go along to get along. They remember Mitch McConnell in 2009. From 2009 to 2015. They remember the terrorism he did on Obama's governance. This guy fought tooth and nail at every single turn. He's throwing sand in the gears. And then you compare that to Chuck Schumer? There's just no comparison, and people have no time for it. Then you add to the fact that he's part of what my man Ken Clip calls the gerontocracy. Guy's about to be in November of 2028, he'll be 78 years old. He's already showing signs of decline. He's old, he's cooked. Okay. Sorry, Granny, we taking you to the nursing home. You're done. Okay, and so that's what's happening. Like when it comes to what was they did serve a purpose. They were good with the big money donors. They were good at cozying up to the business interests, and that's the excuse me, that's the infrastructure that the party has set up, and that's the tension point where we're meeting at, where it's like the party is funded by these very affluent people. These very powerful interests. That's the funding base of the entire party. And the leadership is like, we cannot turn our backs on the people who fund us. But guess what? The people who actually elect you have awoken to the realities of who you guys clearly care about the most. And that's why they find themselves in such hot water at the moment.
Yeah, and this is coming off of the back of the 2024 election. And even like before the election and after, the Democratic Party said as an official stance that they are going to be chasing those more high dollar donors in the future because they just want the money at this point. And whatever they have to do, whatever they have to concede in order to get that money, so be it. And what they were saying is that those big corporate donors are now going to be more popular and more highly prioritized, not just with the Republican Party, as we have already seen, but also with the Democratic Party. And they announced this. They told the American people, they told their own voters that we are deprioritizing you and the things that you want because you don't give us enough money. And it's just crazy that they actually said that out loud to me. But this is the Democratic Party, and I agree, they're incredibly out of touch. They are incredibly old in the sense that physically they are old, but they're governing as if this is a different country that they're governing. They're governing as if this is the United States of 1980 or 1990 or even the 2000s. This is 2025 America. These are 2025 voters, and the party refuses to move. This is supposed to be the liberal wing of the American government. This is supposed to be the progressive wing of the American government, the not conservative, the not regressive part of the American government. But instead, they are just stuck in the mud. They are protecting and preserving the status quo against all odds, against the will of the American people. They refuse to move forward. They keep making excuses. They keep placating people. And at the end of the day, we have a lame duck government. We have a lame duck Congress. We have a party that will not fight for the will of the American people. And we have, very limited things that the American people can actually do to get better people in those positions. Nancy Pelosi is out. Hopefully we can get somebody better in her seat. Chuck Schumer, nobody likes you. Historically unpopular. Take a hint. Just go. Anyway.
And it's not going to get better. There's no hope for these guys. They're cooked. This guy couldn't even bring himself to endorse the Democratic Party's candidate in New York City. Okay? You're done. Get out of here.
Yeah, between him, Kamala Harris, just like all of them refusing to endorse Zoran was very, very telling. And it didn't work out well for any of them in the press. So